there should be a watch page, and it should, let's see. Oh, that's weird. I don't see any comments on this page yet. But if we are live, oh, it looks like it's going live. All right, I got the volume. Hello, everyone. I am testing out this StreamYard software, I guess, or whatever you call it. And I already have DeBate channel with me here. Andrew, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi. I have a YouTube channel. It's quite smaller than FDF Worlds, but I do science experiments and, the wish-wash of chemistry. I really like chemistry. I think it's a really neat thing. And yeah, so.
Awesome. And actually, DeBate and I sort of know each other. Like, I guess, I know your family, I guess, from school back in the day.
Yeah, way back in the day.
Yeah, way back in the day. It was quite a few years ago. I was on a wrestling team with your dad and your uncle. And so those guys, I always looked up to those guys. They were pretty cool. So we got some people in chat. Roderick says, link to, where are you? If you want to join in, or if anyone wants to join in, I can put a link in the chat. I just want to try it. I just want to basically try out this StreamYard thing, get used to how to use it. Flat Earth Frank the Tank, Lori Tillman, Cindy Lou Heeman, Davey 313, Sea Level, and Roderick. Awesome to see you guys. So me and DeBate have had a long-term idea that we need to have a debate. Well, about a few things, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things that we've talked about lately is the either stationary or the rotating, spinning Earth. That's an interesting topic.
Yeah, it's really interesting, actually.
Yeah, and from my point of view, it's even more. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Hopefully, everybody can hear everything on. All right, Sea Level's on my team. Haha, what do you think of that?
That's Andrew? Perfectly fine. Bring them all. Bring them all. Bring them all.
Bring it on. He says, or Ken says, I'll take all you evolutionists on as long as I get half the time.
Yeah. Did you ever get a hold of Kent Hovind? Because you could have totally, that would have been a really interesting conversation.
I talked to him on the phone for a few minutes once, and his phone kept cutting out, and it was like really getting hard to even get any points across. And honestly, I think that he's not really interested, even though I think it would be really cool to have like a debate like we're going to have, on whether the Earth is stationary or whether it's rotating. Both and with Kent, it would be interesting. With Kent, we could have like a biblical debate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that'd be neat.
But yeah, and I know you're more interested in the science end of the debate, I think.
Yeah, I'm more of like the hard science instead of the more biblical stuff.
All right, I have the link copied to the clipboard. I'm doing a couple of things while I'm not very entertaining. Feel free to talk about your channel, or talk about some of the experiments you've done and something like that if you want.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put a link in the chat, and anyone that wants to hop in, I think it's quite simple. Did you have to just click the link and that was about it, DeBate?
Well, the thing is, you have to have a Chrome browser, and I'm on my phone right now because my computer's not actually connected to the internet. So okay. Yeah, it was pretty simple. It brought you to the thing, and then it gave you this troubleshooting thing, and I copied the link and pasted it in a Chrome browser, and I was in. So
okay, so it wasn't that difficult anyway. The Chrome browser seems like the one to use.
Yeah, I think it requires it.
Okay, I'm gonna make sure that I keep that StreamYard. Let's see. It says we can have up to 6 people in here, so that's kind of cool. And I'm just messing around with some of the buttons. Not trying to make. I made you all a little small there, and then That's not what I'm trying to do. That's what I'll do when I'm losing a debate. I'll be like, I'll just go, yeah, there. What do you think of that?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Let's see. So yeah, you mentioned even going on modern day debate. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that'd be really neat because I've been watching that channel for a very long time, and I was because back in the non sequitur days, like a few years
Yep.
ago, and then that
Yeah.
was always interesting to watch. But that whole drama that went down. But
I didn't follow it like too closely, but I mean, there's always some kind of drama going down, right?
yeah, so basically there was a problem between the two people that were hosting it, and then one got kicked out, and then another one has like a lawsuit coming, and then they stopped posting videos. So it was a
So
whole
it kind of
conundrum.
washed up.
Yeah, I think actually Steve McCrae is actually going to get a hold of that channel because I think he has a court order for it. So it's just
Oh,
like a
really?
matter of time before it gets activated again, I believe. But I don't think it'll be the same as the good old days of.
Where there was like, because I honestly didn't watch very many of that show. I just wasn't really aware of it too much, but
Yeah.
I did see it a few times. I'm trying to think who I saw on there. But yeah, there's quite a few people that talk about these things, isn't there?
Yeah, I find it really entertaining.
Oh, for sure. So what I'm doing is, Roderick, that's the link if you're interested. I put it in the chat, and I'm just kind of messing around. Flat Earth Frank the Tank, Deborium, listen to this. He says, I love not spinning. What do you think of that?
I okay. I mean, I guess you can love or not love anything, I suppose.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The thing that I love about not spinning is how it's so easy to tell that you're not spinning by the perceptions and senses that we have
Mm-hmm.
to be able to tell we're not spinning. What do you think of that, Deborio?
Well, basically, to put that in a little bit of perspective, it's like saying that with my own senses, I cannot sense the electron configuration of, that water molecule like in a bottle of water next to me. I can't sense that, but I can use equipment to detect it. So our
Yes,
senses aren't fully tuned to all of the stuff that's going on.
totally
But
agree. I mean, like right now, um, I have a wireless connection for my internet service. So we're streaming on a wireless connection. It's invisible. You can't
mhm.
see it. So there's an example of that. So I agree with you on that.
Yeah. So my question back to you is, why would you expect to sense it?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily like as far as the model of the globe would go. I wouldn't necessarily think that my senses and perceptions in my body would be. Oh, I was hearing something there in my
Yeah, that
headphones.
was that was my phone. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay, cool. No, I was just making sure because I'm just kind of unsure of this whole how to do this whole StreamYard thing.
Yeah, is
But
my audio coming through pretty good?
it seems perfect here. I think
Nice.
someone in the chat would have said something if they were having a hard time seeing you. But yeah, totally. Like I mean, like you say, we don't. Our senses aren't going to pick everything up, and so where you're starting is kind of where I would debate. Is you're starting with on a premise that you're kind of assuming. I'm not saying with your question that you just asked, but
Mhm.
in general, you're assuming already that you're spinning, and then you're saying, why would you feel this spinning? And I'm not saying that we necessarily would feel it, because
Mm.
one turn per day is pretty slow, right?
That is pretty slow. It takes a whole day.
Yeah. So even if it's 1,000 miles an hour at the equator or whatever, 1,037 miles an hour, it's still really the rotation part of it is really slow. Or I guess I don't think you. I mean, if you stood on what turns, it's one of those merry-go-rounds. If you stood on it in the morning when the sun came up, and all day you stood on it, all day long, and then all night long until you were back to this original position, and the sun came up again. I don't think that. I mean, obviously, visually, you'd be able to see that you were turning throughout the day. You'd be able to see a different view, right? But as far as feeling it, or any kind of like inertial forces or whatever you call it, I don't think you would be a human body would be able to pick that up. So I'm just being honest on that. But it's the premise where I'm saying the evidence to start with is my perception is that it's not moving to start with. So I wouldn't expect, if it was spinning, I wouldn't expect to necessarily be able to physically like feel that or sense that or perceive that.
Okay, so we'll start with the premise that it's flat. Now, if it were to be spinning, then there would obviously be a centrifugal force, because that's just how rotating bodies behave. It's like the outward pushing force. So if you like spun something really fast, it has that, like, stuff would fly off of it type of situation.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you. I just noticed here we have Jonah and Roderick. I'm going to add them to the stream, but and then as soon as you're done talking there, we'll let them guys introduce themselves.
Okay. And so basically that force does exist, and well, it's actually a fictitious force. It's just a property of the inertia of matter because it's in a rotating body. But basically that can be calculated, and it turns out to be 0.03% of the downward acceleration caused by gravity if you're standing on the equator, where it would be max. Now, that can be measured depending on your latitude. That number will change and only get smaller. So basically, you can measure this through weights. Actually, Wolfie 6020 did a very good example. Multiple people have. You take basically, it's supposed to be a scalar weight. So you would take your scales.
Yo, you're so cute, my guy. Single baby, you're so cute.
All right. Sorry, guys. Jonah wasn't serious, I guess.
Yeah, he always gets.
Sorry to bore him. Yeah. Well, I guess it's my own deal for putting it in the chat, but Roderick is here, and I know Roderick's not going to be asking about me. Sorry to bore him. Go ahead and continue.
Fine. So basically, if you got a high enough precision scale and a set 500 gram mass, not weight, of a weight basically, and you use that for tearing, if you keep that mass and you don't tear the scale and you move your latitudes, you can actually, it will weigh different depending on the latitude you're on.
Yes.
So that is direct evidence that there is a rotating body. So there'd be something there to counteract that.
Well, let's analyze that just this part of it real quick. Is that evidence of a moving body, or is that evidence that if you go to a different place on the ground that something weighs slightly different?
Okay, so
you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I know what you're saying. So, but that's more of a post hoc way of explaining and rationalizing that. I basically started with the premise that was flat, and then I would say, what if it was spinning? And then I did the math and calculations to see if a spinning body would result in that same type of change in weight. So I directly predicted that force would exist.
Mm-hmm.
And that verifies that model. So you would have to basically say something that's unknown, predict it, and then have that prediction. If it comes true, it doesn't falsify the hypothesis. If it doesn't come true, it falsifies the hypothesis.
Okay. Let's pause for a second on that, and we'll keep that thought. And let's say hi to Roderick. How you doing, Roderick? You're muted, just so you know.
Yeah, I had to unmute. I just wanted to test this out. First time doing a live panel.
Yeah, me too. Actually, I used to do the Google Hangouts thing quite often. Actually, DeBoreum's been on a couple times back in the day, and we used to have some fun. We used to do like a couple 2-3 hour debates,
Yeah,
you can
the
click on
time
this
would
little
goes pretty
chat.
quick.
Oh, go ahead, Roderick.
I was just gonna say it's got this chat option on here, and you can type privately, or if you go to the other option, you can see the YouTube comments. Because I don't think I can access YouTube, because it'll close you out if you like get off the screen, so it doesn't play in the background. So
Oh,
if you
okay,
actually go to
yeah.
YouTube,
It would echo.
it'll mute you. Yeah.
Yeah,
There,
yeah.
I see
noticed that.
Deborium there, I think. How you doing?
Hello.
So Roderick, sometime I'd like to have you on and just chat back and forth too, like do a show sometime. So just mentioning that, like now that I see that this is working and it is quite convenient, I'm going to be doing this quite often, I think. And Roderick is muted again. If you are talking, I can't really tell.
Yeah, I'm just here checking it out.
Cool.
If I
Cool.
have anything to offer, though, I'll definitely chime in. But I want to be respectful and
Nah,
exclude.
you can speak
myself.
if you ever have any comments or anything. I'm totally.
Oh
fine
yeah,
with
for
that.
sure.
I'm
We're
trying
all
to get
friendly
my
here.
Friend, I'm trying to get my friend Aaron on. He's very insightful too. But I may shortly, if he doesn't come on, I might just go back to the regular YouTube though.
There's someone in here now that is face1111.
That's Aaron. Hey.
Is it? Should I
Yeah.
add to stream? All right.
Sure.
Hopefully yeah, I'm gonna be very careful that I know who it is from now on. Welcome.
Yeah.
Hey guys, what's going on? Hey, thanks for letting me enter.
Hey, no problem. I'm Joe.
Nice to meet you,
And-
Joe. My name's Aaron, but I go by Face. Face one.
Face. Nice to meet you.
You bet.
Yeah,
And
I'm Andrew.
oh, go ahead.
I go by Deborium. That's kind of a quirky thing, I guess.
Awesome. Yeah, this is cool because I think that this is something that I should have done a long time ago, right, guys?
Yeah, yeah.
I should have.
What I like,
And it's been like
what I like about this,
literally
Joe,
months. Oh, what was that?
Joe, I was wanting to elaborate what is key and important about a show like this is it allows people to think outside the box, but who know what's inside the box, to offer, I guess you could say, an alternative to help people think instead of just towing the typical line. Because all we ever hear, Face One and I have talked about this before, all you ever hear is the same stuff from the same people. Whether they're sincere, but Nathan Oakley, you could never get a word in edgewise. Anytime
Okay, yeah.
anytime you said something on his show or another show, it's just the way it is. I guess it's basic human reactions. But anytime you say something that doesn't go against what they've been taught, if you say it's not the Federal Reserve it's causing it, or it's not, you're kicked out quickly, you know. And
Oh,
you've experienced
yeah.
that too, Joe. So
Oh,
this
totally.
allows people,
Totally.
people to critically think and actually what do you call it, inspire thought. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know what?
discourse is really important.
Totally, totally. I was just gonna say pretty much exactly what you just said, Andrew. I'll use Deborium for an example. We disagree on like everything, don't we, Andrew?
Pretty much,
I mean,
yeah.
like a lot of these topics, a lot of the things we talk about, we're on the opposite side of the thinking about it. But I enjoy talking to you about it. So
Yeah, I enjoy
I don't
talking about it
think-
too.
I don't think that there should be this. I see this a lot of times, and I'm not saying that I don't do it or something, but I don't think there should be a wall between somebody who believes one thing and another person who believes another thing, because I think the whole point of someone believing something is that, or I should say, two people believing two different things and talking about it, it can only improve the things that they're believing, I think. Both of them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my thoughts. I mean, and that's another thing is I wanted to have a Facebook friend of mine, Thomas Morgan. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but he's been in the chat here a lot. I don't think he's here now, but he's a truck driver, and I think he's been put in a position to have like a lot of time to listen to the Bible and things while he's driving. And I'd like to pick Thomas Morgan's brain just because he comes up with some of the most like solid things that like reveal things out of the Bible to me. And I know that's off topic for, talking about rotation and things like that. Yeah.
Fucking truck drivers. God damn it.
Hey, watch your language, please.
Oh yeah.
Because I drive truck sometimes, and
Yeah.
sometimes
I was picking on Roddick. Sorry.
No, that's right. That
keep that
truck
pride.
drivers have
I used to play on the radio, but I'm more serious lately. But I've been going around saying, break COVID-19 for a Jesuit check.
1200.
Dude, that's funny shit right there, Roddick.
What's your 201?
That's funny. Yeah. Break 201.
Phase one, you drive truck?
No, I have.
Okay.
Do you, Joe? Do you know Roddick, or have you?
I just know Roderick from YouTube.
Okay, cool. So
Right.
you guys you've met before. Yeah, me and Roddy go way back, and so when you were talking about your friend, the truck driver, I had to throw a dig at Roddy and be like, "Fucking truck drivers,"
Oh,
because
that's fine. That's
we
fine.
always just play with each other like that because it makes it real. You know what I mean?
And you know what? I'm obviously not like fond of like, what do you call it? A cuss word or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not fond of it, but at the same time, I live in the real world. And
okay, yeah. Well, I'll
you know what I
respect your
mean?
channel.
Like,
I'll respect your channel. I did not.
no, and that's
know
cool.
that.
That's cool. I didn't say any, I didn't put any rules or anything like that. I just, it's one of those things where I'm like, if you actually, the guy I was talking about, that's the truck driver, he can have more of a loose mouth a lot of the time than I would or whatever. And it doesn't say anything about his witness. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't say anything about, who he is or anything. It's just a different way of talking. It's like, if you were born in this part of town or the other part of town, you might have different, I remember
terms.
when I was growing up, one of my friend's moms, she would use the word shit, just like anyone would use the word poop, and like where I was growing up, we just didn't really say that, or like my parents were like, didn't say that. But this woman, she just did, and it was just like normal for her to say that, and I could see that, and I'm like, she's not like swearing even. She's just
people use the S word. People use the S word to describe even things like, oh, I'm not gonna do that thing.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, and they'll use the S word to describe so many things like oh no, oh shit.
Yep. And you're like, it's unrelated, but it conveys an emotion, and it conveys what you want it to convey at the moment. You know what I mean?
And like you said, it is a cultural habit of language.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And speaking of language, I think that's interesting thing to talk about too is the Tower of Babel.
Yeah.
Like, obviously you guys know that I like talking about that because of what they're doing with space rockets and things right now. It just reminds me of that. But,
electronic cars in space. Let's do this.
Yeah, let's do this. What does DeBate think about space travel as far as like the idea of the Tower of Babel, like trying to climb into heaven or climb up to the sky? What do you think about that?
Well, I guess I've never really collaborated the two together in really much any way, but I do think it's pretty neat that the first time a private space organization has actually lost astronauts from U.S. soil in a very long time, which is a very good step towards commercializing space. So,
and, hey, actually, now that you brought that up, this is awesome. Because you have a different point of view, it is very fun for me to ask you some questions about some of these things. Like now you say commercializing space. And I think we all know what that means is basically making it available for more for the average person or whatever.
No. It means taxing the average person.
Yeah.
Not entirely. It's more of having a incentive to go there in monetary reasons. So
Like
getting
for
resources,
experimenting and
new
things,
technology development, and that will just further drive like technological growth and the such.
Okay. What do you think about what is the, as far as space goes, or whatever, the space station and satellites and things, what do you think is the most like, if you were going to give it a general description of its benefit to us versus like the cost and stuff? What's your thoughts on that? I'm just curious. Not trying to put you on the spot.
Good question.
That's a good question. Well, the International Space Station costs a tushy ton, but it does bring valuable research to a bunch of stuff. It's not as useful as satellites, for example, because satellites actually provide communications, imagery, weather predictability, military purposes. There's a lot of usefulness in that. So satellites are probably more useful than the ISS. That's probably why the ISS hasn't really done a lot recently.
Yeah, they do a lot of like drug experiments and things like that on the ISS that they can't do without a microgravity or like a zero gravity, I guess, whatever they call it, microgravity scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting to me. Actually, let me ask you a question, Deborium. This is interesting. What are your thoughts? If I'm going to explain just like a little something that you already understand. You understand what an orbit is, right? You understand that there's a specific, basically a specific velocity that the globe Earth can be orbited without falling into it, right?
Well,
or without
there's many
making contact with
speeds.
the ground.
You
Yeah,
mean
depending
escape
on
velocity
your height.
or
What I mean is I'm not trying to confuse you. What I mean is at 250 miles or so, if something is moving horizontally, or you could say parallel to the surface of the Earth, that it's if you're on a globe, it's following this curvature, right? Or it's above, it's following it, it's parallel with this curvature above, but it never hits because it's going fast enough, right?
It keeps falling around.
Yeah.
The best way I kind of
go ahead.
visualize it is you take a cannonball, you shoot it. The cannonball has a curved trajectory, and if you match that to the curve of the Earth, you'll get an orbit as long as there's no resistance.
Yep. Kind of like there was another explanation. I think you guys have probably all heard this one. If you had a building that was 200 miles high, and if you just walked off of the building, you might, you're going to be going maybe 3 miles an hour when you walk off. You're going to fall 200 miles at 3 miles an hour. You're going to move that distance.
It's like if you have no symptoms of COVID, you got it.
Yeah, there you go. No, I made a joke, and Deborah might not like this one, but there's a far worse global pandemic going on right now than COVID-19. It's Globehead-19.
Oh
So
boy, you just
terrible
opened the book
global
right there.
pandemic.
Oh no.
You just opened the
No,
book.
I'm just kidding. So, but as far back to the orbit and the like the space station, for example, if an astronaut is in the space station or on a spacewalk, whatever, they're in that environment, they're in a state of basically free falling continually, right? Yeah, and that's why they appear to float, and that's why I'm able to make this joke. I was reading this awesome book on the space station when I visited, I couldn't put it down. Get it? So I don't know if you got that, but that's why everything appears to float, right? Just as if you, very much the same as if you were in one of those 0G planes or whatever, where they go up and then they do a steep dive and match the free fall or the whatever that ballistic arc is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or trajectory or whatever they call it. So if okay, and I'm just going to explain to you where I'm going with this. I know this is taking a second, but okay, all of us are familiar with the Bible, and in the very second verse of the Bible, it gives me the idea that there is this place of darkness, which I'm thinking that we call it space in this world, or
Hey, Joe,
have
you want to
anyway.
respond to sea level? Sea level.
Oh,
He's answering
yeah.
your question right now.
Where was the question?
Or the statement that it's just CGI. It's more than CGI.
Oh yeah, it's totally more than CGI.
Yes.
Much more than CGI. At 4:20 in the morning, tomorrow morning, so that's about what 7 hours from now or something like that. SpaceX is going to be launching 60 more Starlink satellites. And if a person really wants to know about what's happening in the sky, you can track these satellites and you can watch them. Okay. You can't miss these ones very much. They're hard to get with a camera. They just are. Because I've tried. I've seen them many times, and I've had almost no luck getting them on camera. But
hey, Joe.
Yeah.
At 4:20, and then the launch the other day was at 3:22. Come on, they are totally mocking.
Yeah. See, and that's the other thing is, do they know that they are, in your opinion?
Yes.
Okay. So
not everyone involved knows.
Yeah, not everyone involved knows. But what about this this idea? And I'm not saying that, I'm not saying this to say I'm right, you're wrong or something, but it is something to think about. That what if we'll just call it the lie, because we could go into detail about what exactly the lie is or whatever, but we know. And Deborium, I know I'm not trying to speak for Deborium here. He has different opinions on some of these things, but I believe there's a lie, but I don't believe it's being told by men. That's kind of the different way of thinking. I believe it's being told. Well, it is being told by men, but it's men who believe the lie. So, like, I don't think there's a group of people saying, "Hey, let's hide the shape of the world," or something like that. I just don't see that as realistic. I see it as something more like much more supernatural with angels.
What do you think about the possibility? And I'll relate this to the Tower of Babel, right? And
oh yeah,
but we also think that the Tower of Babel means voice, right? But what if it was just writing, right? So, and I'm just relating it to that idea of trying to rise up and get the word right. But what if down here there wasn't, like you just said, it's not a group of men or women or somebody speaking, but what if it's so influential in the writing, such as your textbooks, and if you could just teach, or not teach, but just present this information to folks at a young age, a young mind, right? And in the mind is the Tower of Babel in itself. Just reaching out to, looking up, and if you can control that from the very beginning with just words on paper, not even a voice. We do have a teacher, but the teacher, like you said, doesn't know. Nobody knows. And they're just replaying the textbook. They're just repeating the textbook, something that's already been written.
Can I give an example?
And it causes you
I think I know what you're saying.
to imagine. It causes you to imagine in your heart, and you will achieve it if you believe it.
Yeah, and that's what they were doing with with the Tower of Babel. Actually, in Jasher chapter 9, it says that the building of the tower was a transgression and a sin to those people because they were wicked in their hearts because they wanted to ascend into heaven. And I'm like, whoa. I mean, what's NASA's and SpaceX's mission statement, you know?
Kind of makes
But Joe, I
total
would
sense.
argue,
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
I would argue with you that you are correct as far as today. But in the old times in Scripture, there was a conspiracy. They take counsel together
Oh,
to
yeah.
uh,
And
to
I
hide
think
the Most High, and there are a few still around today, but it's not as grand
that could
conspiracy as
be.
we think. But it
Yeah.
was.
And I also know that, I mean, we also can't forget about all the unclean spirits that are basically here on the earth until they're cast out into outer darkness. Like, they're here right now. And so, I mean, this is just my belief, of course, but they're here. And that's like, someone on Facebook had put something very interesting. He said, the guy who had Legion tormenting him, and Jesus cast all those unclean spirits into like 2,000 pigs or something like that, and the Legion killed all the pigs. Like, they went and ran into the water and drowned. And the guy goes, "Can you imagine the torment that one man had to deal with all those evil, unclean spirits, if they had that power to kill 2,000 swine?" I was like, whoa, that is something to think about, you know?
What's the difference between a voice and scripture? Voice and script.
What do you mean? Just like
Just on its
way that you
face.
hear it, you
When I
mean?
say,
Or-
what's the difference between voice and script exactly?
voice would be vocal or audible, and
Mhm.
script would be written, right?
And visual, right?
Script? Oh, yeah, script would be visual. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, cool. Now, and I'm not a super religious guy, Roddy can testify to that, but I love listening to you guys talk because it as I get older, it's like, man, everything makes sense. Okay, so what if Satan kind of works in a way that, you know what, we can't give them, I can't control it by the visual, right? Because the script has been written, the word has been written, and that's how people get the word. Okay, but I can do it through an audible sense, right? I can go through these folks audibly. So now we have mainstream media. You never see anything except some pretty face talking to you, telling you what the world is, right? NASA, you see pictures and somebody telling you, but you never see the writing ever.
Yeah.
Right? You can't do that. So interesting. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that was good. That was good. Good point. Ruffles, sour cream ruffles. Sorry. So Deborium,
Yeah.
I didn't want to steer too far away from our debate, because I think, like, I honestly think it would be great to have a real debate where I can write some things down, you can write some things down, and we can, go over stuff like in more detail than we are just talking here. But
Yeah.
but it is fun to just talk. So I kind of wanted to continue a little bit where you left off, and where I was basically agreeing with you. We were talking about rotation of like a body, and the force that would have is not very much to perceive if from a human body, right?
Mhm.
And then so we were talking about the premise, like, where do we start? And then you had gone into, what was the example that you were kind of calling some evidence to look at? What was the first thing you brought up?
Well, because a rotating body obviously has forces applied on it, and the centrifugal force would apply. It exists.
Oh, yeah, it was
And on
the
a ro-
weight.
Yeah,
was
the,
the
the
weight.
weight's changing
Yeah.
on latitude, basically.
Yeah.
The weight of it would change.
So is that, like in all honesty, is that related to a rotation, or is that just related to weight? And I'm not saying that it doesn't make sense. I'm saying, you know, we don't want to jump to conclusions about or assume things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, the thing is, on a sphere, on an Earth-sized sphere, you can calculate the force. So you can predict the exact weight change if the Earth is moving and rotating at your specific latitude. And when you weigh
If
it,
you're at the North Pole or something,
yes,
you
exactly.
might
If you're on the
think the
North Pole
weight's
versus the equator,
less. Yeah.
it'll weigh
Or it's gonna
more
weigh
at
more.
the pole.
Yeah.
It's going to weigh more
Okay.
at the pole.
And so I can't disagree with that, because I think we can actually demonstrate these different weights. Okay. And basically you're saying that because you can basically predict from a globe map, you could predict these differences in weight.
Mhm.
And I'm saying, what if that's coincidental? I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying, what if that's I guess what I'm saying is it wouldn't be enough to convince me. Yeah, go ahead.
Just a little clarification. Who's the gentleman speaking about the rotation? I would want to call you
Andrew.
Andrew. Andrew, my name's
Yeah.
Aaron. Nice to meet you, Andrew.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you mentioned the rotation of the Earth.
Yep.
And definitely, man, you can go onto a roundabout, a merry-go-round, and if you stand on the edge, you know, let's say it's just spinning slowly, you stand on the edge, you're gonna feel that force. But as you move towards the center,
Here, let me stop you
okay.
right there. If you want to do it directly proportional to, like, say, the Earth rotating, you'd have to rotate it once a day.
Sure. Okay. Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
just
I
what I wanted to throw in
wasn't
there.
trying to compare a merry-go-round to RPM of the Earth, you know.
Sorry about that.
But then you also mentioned that the Earth is rotating, so you can go to a specific latitude and pretty much calculate the it'd be centrifugal or centrifugal force, either one, right?
Yeah, I think centripetal is the one pulling in, and centrifugal is the fictitious one going out.
Sure. But then you also mentioned that the Earth is going around the sun in an orbit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's two motions there of force, and yes, you're right. They're very slow. They are very slow. But is the orbit of the Earth around the sun, is that a elliptical, or is it actual? What would you call it? Circular.
It's slightly elliptical.
Slightly. So would there be a speeding up at one point of the Earth, you know, to get from equinox to equinox, you know, if one leg is longer than the other, just to get to an equinox?
Yep.
Okay. What happens to time when we're speeding up and slowing down around the sun?
You're talking about time dilation, though. Well, if you speed up, your time slows down. Well, not for you in your reference frame, it wouldn't. But if you were outside the reference frame and you were observing the thing changing speeds, the time dilation would be in effect.
Okay, so there's exactly 6 months in between the equinox, right?
It wouldn't be exactly 6 months. It'd be a little.
Oh, so it's not. I don't know. I'm just.
Yeah,
I was under
we'll
the
just go 6
assumption
months.
that it was.
Go 6
Okay.
months.
Okay. But the distance traveled in the, let's say, on one orbit of the elliptical orbit, the distance traveled is less, and then the other, you know, after the equinox, it's to get back to the autumnal equinox. It's longer distance, but it happens within the same time. Is the Earth speeding up and slowing down, or how does that work?
Well, yeah, the elliptical orbit, you do change speeds.
Okay. I and look, I'm not a physicist or astronomer or whatever, so I don't know. But it just seems kind of weird that the Earth would speed up and slow down and orbit, and rotate on its axis, and there's just nothing that we can feel or sense of that motion, you know. And not to mention that the sun's traveling through space at, absurd amount miles an hour, and we still don't have any disruptions in our life. Everything's stable on Earth. So
Okay, so well, my first question was depending on what reference frame you're in, physics will always be the same. So if you're in the reference frame on Earth, physics would be the same for Earth. If you try to apply the same type of Earth physics to a rotating body while still on Earth, they will appear to be different. So if you change your frame of reference to the solar system, then you can apply the same laws of physics throughout them. So that's kind of.
But that would be an impossible thing. We can't change our frame of reference into the solar system.
That's a good point. It's Aaron, right? Or was it Aaron?
I'm sorry. Face one, yeah, Aaron or Face, yeah, whatever.
Face. That is a good point because we all live on the Earth, so this is our reference frame.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why you wouldn't. I mean, these forces are present, but it would be less so. So, in 24 hours, if you're rotating at that speed, one rotation every 24 hours, it doesn't matter about your tangential velocity. It matters about your angular velocity, which is the change in basically turn.
Yeah, it's like you're driving around in a circle, right?
Yeah. So on Earth, if you're doing that, which is the fastest of all of these in angular velocity change, it turns out to be 0.03% of the acceleration of gravity. Now, if you go on a grander scale of that, it will be infinitesimally smaller. So yes, it does exist, but there is no possible way for you to be able to detect it as a person. That's what I'm saying. The physics work out.
Yeah.
It's a little.
It kind of basically works out that if we can't detect it, it'll as you work out into a fictional place called the universe, and you look back at it, then we don't feel motion, we don't see motion, we don't experience any motion, we don't, right? So
you know
what if you worked your way in to the Earth, right? And be like, well, there is no motion. So right down where I'm standing right now, every single day, I don't feel it, I don't see it, don't know it, everything's fine.
That's it. I think I can actually put something down that we actually all agree on. Because I mean, I know that DeBorium is a clear thinking person. I think we all would agree that we don't perceive the ground beneath our feet to be moving. Right?
That is correct.
That's correct. Now, as far as whether it's moving or not, that's up to whether a person's looking at it as like DeBorium said, the solar system a little bit ago. And right away, my mind said, well, I don't believe in the solar system because I don't see a solar system. I see planets that are lights in the sky that I guess I just don't see the solar system thing happening. I don't see the sun orbiting around the Earth orbiting around the sun. I see the sun going over the Earth. So what I'm trying to say is we have to go into our imagination and like Face was saying, into an imaginary place that's fictitious in our mind only. It may exist, but for us to perceive it is impossible. We have to go there in our mind. And if we pretend we're the sun and we're looking at the Earth, then it might appear for the Earth to be spinning. Or like if we're the stars and we're looking down on the Earth from the stars, maybe because if we were the stars, it would be like we're not moving, so the Earth would be moving, right? So it's almost like where we look from is the most important way that we can understand, or it gives us our understanding a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But the large problem with that is you can observe there's like I said with the Earth rotating, there's things that you can do to detect it. You as a person cannot. Say a ring laser gyroscope. Everyone knows the famous Bob proved that the Earth moved.
What if that's
that
what if
whole
that's
situation.
actually picking up? What if that's actually picking up the stars moving?
It cannot.
How is that? I guess what I'm saying is, how do you know what it's picking up? Like what that 15 degree per hour drift comes from?
It's
Okay,
pre-programmed to read 15 degrees per hour. By the way,
that is false.
Oh,
I
really?
need evidence to support that.
it's a program
Um,
device. Yeah.
I'm sure there's tons of different ones.
But
well,
any
okay.
other gyro does not pick up any drift at all.
No,
Any
no,
other one.
it does. It
They
does.
do.
All
They
right.
do. Like if you just even just a physical one, if you have one that you can put a little battery on that to keep it spinning, it will pick up that. It will pick up movement. And I don't know how. I think it's hard to have.
It's the forces acting on it are very. The reason why a ring laser gyroscope works so well is because light moves at a constant speed no matter where observer you are, and
How do you
that
know
is
that? You've
that's
never
just.
measured light speed, right?
Have you
Well, you
measured
can
light
use.
speed? That's a genetic fallacy.
It's just one of those things. Like I said, the script has been written, or I'm sorry, the word has been told to my ear that we
Mm.
know light speed, we know it.
Well, there is validity to a
But,
lot of it, though.
you know,
There
No,
is
because
validity.
a lot of things would not work if light speed was not
My
constant. It
math.
just
Yeah,
brother
math,
flew
of
a
course. Yeah.
my brother flew
math is
a
proof.
plane. I think it was called a P3 in the military, and that plane uses. I'm not sure the name of the gyroscope, but it uses the light and mirrors to for its gyroscope.
On a
You know what I
local
mean? It
level,
has-
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, and so there's truth to the I guess what we would call the speed of light or whatever. We can use light and mirrors to measure distances, different or change in distance, like by sending
Mhm.
two things by sending light in the same direction at the same time. And if you route it different with the mirrors, you can get
Let me
you know
ask a question. When they measure the speed of light, is that a laser light, a direct beam, a concentrated beam? And if so, is the sun, which is emits light, I guess for us, is that a laser, a direct beam, or we need to get to one consensus here about what light is. Okay, which light are they measuring? And I don't disagree that we can measure light. I mean, there's experiments that do this, but what light is being measured? Man-made light, sunlight, daylight, light bulb light. Which one?
I suppose it would depend on what we were trying to
I
measure.
well, I don't really understand why that would matter. Light is a spectrum per se. It consists of a lot of different things, but it's all basically the same thing and just at different frequencies. So I'm not. They all move at the same speed, and there's a whole bunch of different ways that people found this out. The first way was this guy used a whole bunch of mirrors and did a reflection based off of the angle, did some crazy maths to do that. The second one was a guy, he was trying to measure radio waves. Now, radio waves are light. The same as microwaves, same as visible light, same as
electromagnetic.
electromagnetic radiation. That is all light. It all moves at the same rate, at just at different frequencies.
Okay.
So he was trying to measure that, and he had built a simple ham radio before, ham radios is basically a coil of copper wire around it.
What was the powering source for that? One of the first ham or electromagnetic radio waves, wasn't it vibrating crystals, right?
No, I'm not entirely sure,
Okay,
but I don't
so
believe.
what caused the radio wave to go through the air?
You would create electrical current through copper wire that.
That's a magnet.
No. You have to create a magnetic field because then you can alter the. How do I explain this?
Through crystal, right?
What does the crystal have to do with it?
No, because that's what I can't remember the exact name, but they're crystal.
Oscillators.
Sure, something like that. And listen, we're on the same team. I might be getting a little, abrupt with you, but
No, that's fine.
Going like this.
I'm not.
This is going over my head, you guys. I'm just listening. But do you guys see on the screen there? I've got my. Let's see here. Maybe I can go like this. There we go.
Resonators, right? That's the word.
I gotta try to turn this. How do I turn the comment off? Oh, right there. Trying to prove the globe. Sorry, I had to do it. Okay.
Good.
So here, let me say a couple things about light, because I might even have a video. If I can't remember where it would be though. There's something with the sun, I believe, that is actually, well, the sun is obviously making light, right? But there's something other than the sun that makes light. And it's like, it can be charged, like gases. Like if you take very much like a fluorescent bulb, like a
Oh,
fluorescent.
I can actually get something that can do that. If I can find my.
Cool.
Neon. A lot of.
Oh, do you have one of those
gases.
little, of those little, what are they called? Tesla coil thing?
I did. I kind of broke it a while back to like get to the electrical stuff. But here's like a tube of xenon. It'll do that.
Oh, cool.
Uh,
Is that like the pinkish blue kind of?
Depends on the gas.
Yeah.
xenon is purple.
Purple. Okay.
And then I got a tube of argon.
And so you can
Which
turn
is-
on, you can make a electromagnetic field or something, and that'll light up, right?
Yeah, you'd ionize the gas.
Ionize the gas. That's what it's called. Because
Yeah.
that's just interesting to me.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Only through not even a direct connection. It's through the gas that makes the positive negative connection.
Yeah, because they can have it in a sealed or in a
Sure.
like a fluorescent bulb is like
All neon lights are like that. Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah, neon lights, yeah. Cool, Deborium. I didn't know you had those.
Yeah, I have an element
Cool.
collection sitting next to me.
So could the sun be a little bit more than what we think, such as an source, right? And what we see with daylight, blue, red in the morning, pink and blue, all these colors.
Yeah.
What if it was just an electrical source? That
That's
is
what
a
it seems
valid
like.
question. It's a valid question.
It's no. No.
No.
Well,
Basically, why you're seeing those colors is the diffraction of light through like the particulate in the atmosphere. That's basically how that's pretty.
Cool.
and it just happens to be the exact same colors as all those gases.
Mm-hmm.
No,
And they're called noble.
need-
They're called noble gases, by the way.
Yeah, noble gases like
Yeah, because
argon.
their outer electron layer is full, so they don't bond with anything except for xenon. You can get some tricky things with xenon to like actually make.
That's cool. How come I can see the moon just clear as day? Then shine in bright daylight, without it has no atmosphere, but yet that moon's reflecting light is coming through the atmosphere that you just said that causes light, the sunlight to bring visuality to me. How come I can look up and just be like, bang, I can see craters and shit on the moon? It's I don't mean to get particular, but
Why wouldn't you?
well, because you just said there's an atmosphere that the sunlight is creating the light for me, right?
No, the light source is still the sun. It's just so basically at sunset and sunrise, the light has to travel through a lot more atmosphere to get to your eyes, and then it scatters. That's the whole reason.
Uh-oh,
You can see that.
Devorium. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. You just opened up a can of worms. No, I'm just kidding. So if you just brought up something though. So when we see like a blood moon or whatever during the lunar eclipse, we see that red color.
Yep.
You would be saying that this is related to those
Exactly, yeah.
okay. And which brings up the shadow size.
Oh, I was gonna make a response video to that, but I didn't have time.
No, that's why I brought it up, because I thought it would be great to hear what you what your thoughts are on that.
Okay, so the shadow size is not 70 miles wide for the moon casting on the Earth. It's not. That's just a number.
What about
that's
when I filmed it?
That's what I'm told. Yeah, that's what I'm told. I hear
That's
that.
well, then
Somebody
you
tells me
misunderstood.
that.
Very, very wrong. Basically, if you that's the totality of it. So that's like the where it's fully blocked. But if you're in a different place, you can still see the moon block out part of the sun. Now
Yes.
that is still casting a shadow.
That's what I didn't see and that's actually kind of the thing that I noticed, is that when I was watching that eclipse, and you've seen the video, like that time lapse of the shadow going over, I'm sure you've seen that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it was light, and I was filming the moon was like almost covering up the sun, and it was still light out. And then it was very quickly, it got dark for 2.5 minutes, and then it was light again. So what I'm saying is I didn't see any kind of like what you would expect, or what I would expect is, if something is covering up a light halfway, that it's going to be kind of dim or dark, but I didn't see that when we were there. And I remember saying, shouldn't it be getting dark? And it wasn't. That was the thing. It was kind of strange. I remember noticing it. So what I'm saying is it is about 70 miles wide, the shadow that I filmed anyway. Because it was 2.5 minutes long, and we know how fast it went across the country. It was like, what, 1,500 miles an hour or something. Or more, maybe more than that. I can't remember. But what I'm saying is that it going across, there was a shadow that's about 70 miles wide. And I guess my argument would be with the umbra and penumbra. I don't think we see an umbra and penumbra at all.
Well, but it does exist though.
Well, if just saying it exists doesn't really. I guess what I'm saying is the shadow that the moon made was 70 miles wide. Because it's obvious it was, because we were in Lincoln. We were just north of Lincoln, Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
And if we would have been, 50 miles from there, we would have almost been out of the shadow. We would have been out of the shadow.
Yeah, on either side, up or down.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is it doesn't seem consistent to have a 70-mile wide distinct shadow like that. And then when you go to the lunar eclipse, to say that the Earth is casting an Earth-sized shadow, not a 1/30th of the size of Earth-sized shadow.
Yep, exactly. How come the moon's not blacked out? It just turns red.
And not only that, the moon what we should see, if it's consistent with, because the distances are all almost the same between a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse. I'm saying that the angles would be the same. The angles of light from the sun would be the same.
Mm-hmm.
So you would have their theoretical penumbra and umbra, if that's what was happening. but you would have a 280 mile shadow going across the moon. It wouldn't cover up the whole moon.
But you definitely see a dark spot.
Oh yeah,
in their model, in the model.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying is an inconsistency that I'm seeing, because basically in the heliocentric model, the observable solar eclipse shadow that we all, not all of us, but that we can go watch on YouTube, basically we can all see it. The one that it was on, what was that, August 21st, I think, 2017. But that one, if the moon, which is 2,100 and whatever miles wide, can cast that 70-mile wide shadow, then an 8,000 mile wide Earth would cast a 260-mile wide shadow, or a 280-mile wide shadow. If it's consistent. So
there's a great argument for that, though, Joe.
Is there?
Yeah, you know, the Earth has an atmosphere which refracts light, and you know, in that math and the mathematical model of the heliocentric distances, you will never get the umbra, right?
Yeah,
you'll get a red penumbra, and that's the answer, you know. But it doesn't.
That's what we're seeing. We're seeing the penumbra of the Earth, or the shadow of the Earth, I guess, on the moon, right? And I think I understand what you're saying.
That's also spoken word, right? I don't know that, right? Yeah, somebody just told me that, you know.
What do you think about that, Deborium?
Well, what he said is pretty much how that works. But okay, so if you have the moon blocking a portion of the sun, it's still casting a shadow in that area. It might not seem like a shadow because not that much is blocked out, and the sun is very, very, very bright.
That would be the penumbra, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it'd be the umbra.
The umbra is the center one, or the small one.
Yeah.
The umbra is like the totality. Yeah.
One of the two. But yes, as long as it's blocking a portion of it, it's still casting a shadow where you are viewing it.
In like demonstration or whatever, but in reality, is it? Because I didn't see that in reality. I didn't see like it getting dark, really dark out.
Yeah, Joe, that brings up a question. You know, if the sun is so far away, that light source, Andrew, also, you know, the light source is so far away, and the moon passes in front of it, and all the distances are what you know, we're told they are. Why would the moon's shadow, the umbra or penumbra, you know, I get those two confused. Why would it come to a point if the sun is so far away? Shouldn't it kind
just
of
go straight?
Yeah, shadow the moon, kind of.
Yep, that's what I'm thinking.
You know? Why would it come to a point? Exactly.
Because that's how shadows behave. I don't understand really what the distance has
That's
to
not how shadows behave. Shadows always grow larger.
Yeah, that's the argument.
It is larger.
Andrew. Well, here's the thing: if I have a moon,
parallel rays, it'd be the same.
Hold your hand
well,
up.
if I have let's just say I have
your hand up to a light bulb and tell me what the shadow looks like on the wall. Right? It's huge.
It's going to be bigger than your hand, but never smaller than your hand.
That's right. Okay.
So that's kind of the thing that we're talking about, is that you have like, it's like kind of an inconsistency the way I see it. But I'm having fun talking. I hope you guys are too. I'm just having fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to play a video in the background of the clip, some of the footage that I grabbed. This was at that eclipse. I'll get myself out of the way a little bit. These are some prominences of that I caught with my P900. Isn't that cool?
Yeah. So what's that thing right there, Joe?
It is what, plasma or something? I don't know. It looks like it's probably plasma. Like what? When something? Have you seen the footage of that was taken from the fairing of a SpaceX launch, falling back to Earth, and the plasma ball that was around it. Did you see that?
No, I did not.
It's pretty cool, but it's a little intimidating, scary at the same time. There's like sparks flying and things just from from it coming into the atmosphere so fast. And I don't know if I can play that video. I don't think I have a copy of that in this format. So watch this though. As the eclipse is happening, so as the moon is moving, see there's the light starts to shine through. Now watch the exposure just makes that thing disappear. You can't see it anymore. As soon as the light gets over there, pretty much just disappears. It was cool though. That wasn't actually the video of the shadow. I think I can find that though.
Joe, how do I watch a video you present? Do I click on you or?
Oh, you know what? I'm probably not doing it right. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Yeah. I need to go like this. There, is that better?
There you go. Yeah, now I can see your icon. There.
So yeah, that. Oh, you can't. You know what? I should be paying more attention.
Shouldn't we all?
I'm trying to figure out what actually what's showing on the screen.
I mean, no big deal. I can get what you're describing because you do a good job at that. But I was just wondering if I could click on you and watch the video or not. Or
I'm brand new to this, so
okay. No worries, son. Don't mess up the StreamYard because I hear when you start clicking on stuff, it goes wild.
Hey, I'm learning, right?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I have a video. Hopefully I'm playing it, what I thought I was playing, and I don't know where this video is, but I'm gonna try to find it. The eclipse shadow. Where would that one be? So yeah, I like conversation about these things, though. I like what Robert says here. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, absolutely. And Andrew, I may come across as asking questions, and that's what flat earthers do, right? We just sit there and ask questions. So, but I don't mean anything against your intellect, your knowledge, or anything. It's a great combo, and I love that. I love great.
Yeah, I love it too.
Yeah, it's healthy, right?
Very.
Absolutely. That's what I think, And we might get a little heated, like, oh, what about the Umbra? But
yep.
But it's no big deal, as long as we can have these shows like Joe's putting on, or Joe.
Yeah.
That's cool, I think,
I'm in full agreement. And actually that's one of the reasons why Andrew actually I was setting up this live stream, and then I saw my Facebook, I had a message, and it was actually Andrew talking about, because we've been talking about this, trying to debate a little bit the stationary or the rotating Earth. And so I was like, man, this is perfect. And so the timing worked out great. Andrew could come on. And so that's one of the things that I really encourage people to have conversations with people you would disagree with.
Yes.
It only makes you smarter.
Yes.
Like that's just for anybody, I think.
Dude, Joe, where are you from? You I'm thinking exactly everything you say, like I'm thinking exactly that same thing, like
I'm in Minnesota.
Talk to people. Okay, all right. I was born and raised in Nebraska, lived most of my life in Seattle. Now I'm down in Texas, so.
Okay, yeah. I drove down to Nebraska to film this eclipse.
Yeah, Lincoln. When you said Lincoln, yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
You probably took Highway 91, I think it's 91 or 81, down through Norfolk, all the way down to Lincoln.
Norfolk sounds familiar.
Yeah.
So if you look at the background behind me, which I think is on display here, should be, you can see the time lapse I took of the shadow.
I
And
still can't
that's what I'm
see
saying.
very well.
I don't see a penumbra here. I see a very distinct edged shadow. That's what I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
And it's, if you look at the clouds moving, you can verify that it is the totality was 2.5 minutes. So that's how long the shadow was. So
There's another proof, a globe proof for Earth rotation other than looking up, right? So we've um, have a conversation with Andrew about Earth rotation, and he gave the points, but we're always looking up or being from an an outside reference frame. And the other argument there, Andrew, and this is Coriolis, right?
I don't know.
Corona oleus? What is that? Coronavirus?
Coroniolus, yeah. Coriolis, the Coriolis.
That sounds like one of those. That sounds like part of that other virus, that Globe had 19 virus.
Globe has 19.
It's a global pandemic, man. I'm just teasing you. You know that, Anthony, right? Or Andrew, right?
Yeah, you good.
I'm looking for a video while we're chatting here.
Do we want to talk about Coriolis, Andrew?
Yeah, we can get into it.
Okay. Let's just see. Coriolis, it talks about reference frames, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's only an effect. It's not a force, or it's not, and it's only an observable effect, right?
It's a fictitious force. You can calculate it if you're within a frame of reference. Yes.
Sure. So how do bullets, let's say sniper bullets, start at the very beginning? How do sniper bullets, how do snipers take into account the rotation of the Earth for the alleged spin of the Earth, which would be the cause of a Coriolis effect? Not force, but effect.
You asking how they calculate it on the spot?
Sure. Let's say a 2-mile shot.
You'd need to know the direction first.
You're right. Let's say north south. Let's go north south. So we're shooting north south.
Okay, so first is what you would do. You would have to know the distance to the target, and then you would also have to know your angular speed that you're traveling on at that specific latitude. Because basically how the Coriolis effect works. There's a whole bunch of different ones. The Coriolis effect is like a big broad thing. There's a whole bunch of different things jammed in there. But the one I believe you're talking about is basically the bullet's momentum is going to carry to be the same, even though the momentum of everything around it is changing.
So the bullet's going to carry the conservation of momentum, but the Earth's going to spin under that bullet, right?
It's not spinning underneath it.
Oh, okay.
So basically,
that was the answer.
it's just the change in it's basically conservation of momentum. This is pretty much it. It's going to maintain its momentum that it once had, relative to the point where the momentum has changed.
Okay. So what causes okay, no sniper has ever said that they missed the target, okay? They practice, they shoot, they practice, they shoot, and they never miss the target. But when it comes to the globe flat argument, Coriolis comes up. Sniper shot is one of the first ones, right? Oh, well, the bullet misses the target. But I argue that nobody ever misses their target. These snipers are trained. They scope up, they line up, they shoot 2 miles, and hit the target. within a certain range, a meter or something, right? So is Coriolis a globe Earth argument or not?
What do you mean by argument? It's very real. There's a whole bunch of cases in war where they didn't account for it and they were missing their shots upwards of hundreds of feet.
Can you state
They were
one
just
of those
drunk.
cases, or yeah?
The what?
They were just drunk, I said.
Well, ballistics
Yeah.
are different. Ballistic is different. When you lob something, it's much different than direct fire, right?
Not really.
Sure it is. Yeah. When you lob something up into the air, so then you have air currents, you've got just missile orientation in the air. Maybe it's flip flopping, doing all this weird stuff. So ballistic is different. It's like throwing a grenade, versus shooting a BB.
Here, let me get something real quick.
Can you guys hear Tetris?
Have to get.
I have it really quiet.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Just
sorry, I need a second real quick.
take your time. Take your time.
I'm
No
just
pressure.
flipping through my physics notebook real quick. Trying to
Flat
find all the
Earth.
kinematic equations.
Guys, the globe is consistent to all these
Okay.
smart people.
Can I flip this camera? Probably not. Okay. So these are equations used for calculating these equations are used for ballistics.
Trajectory of ballistics.
But you always use these for any body that is traveling. Yeah, you can basically use it for any type of projectile.
Not a what do you call it, a force propelled, a gun, where it travels so much faster.
Oh yes, yeah. This is basically general kinematic equations. Now those will be used if, for example, is like you're saying, it's not a missile, it's not changing its trajectory in midair.
No. Well, I'm not talking about guided missiles at all. Just a bullet. I have a target in the distance. I scope on it.
Projectile.
Yeah, a projectile. Yes, ballistic v projectile. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying with this, the starting force, the starting angle, you can predict the ending point.
Sure. And is
Coriolis come into that?
is Coriolis in that equation right there?
No, these equations are not within that because these equations even negate air resistance right now because I need a whole bunch of calculus to.
Why would they do that?
Because
They're in
it's
the
entry physics
air
class.
resistance is an obvious factor, right?
I know. I'm just saying these are the basic kinematic equations. Air resistance plugs right into there, but I need to go into a whole bunch of calculus to actually do that, and it doesn't. I couldn't find that immediately.
Why would you have to go into a whole bunch of calculus?
Because that's how you calculate air resistance. It's not an easy thing to do.
Sure it is. It's a fluid.
Fluid dynamics is not an easy topic.
Well, exactly. So, let's not argue.
I think I understand where Face is going with that a little bit, saying that there's a formula and a calculation that we can probably use to predict a lot of things.
We predict everything with is air pressure,
but it doesn't mean it's reality. You know what I'm saying? Like if we had a teacher's edition of the history course, we could get all the answers right, but by going to do you know what I'm trying to say? I'm not making much sense.
I don't think that every sniper pulls out a calculus book like Andrew's saying, and I'm just making fun, joshing. Like Andrew's saying, they don't pull out a calculus book to say, how do we make this shot? right?
Yeah, you know what? There's a funny video. It was Jake the asshole or whatever his asshole. You guys remember him?
Yeah.
He was funny, but he made a video one time about Coriolis, and he was pretending he was like a sniper, and he's like, "All right, I'm about to take the shot," and then he got out his calculator and like, carry the 9, square root of 4, you know.
Yeah. I remember that. He's shooting BBs at the ground. Yeah. That was
Yeah.
That's cool.
That was great.
Well, that's how you would do it. But then, like you said earlier, they go through a heck of a lot of training. So
I think that the whole sniper argument for Coriolis is somewhat useless because shoot anybody that's ever shot a rifle with a nice scope on it knows that the reason why people do target shooting is because you can't hit where you want to hit every single time. You just can't. Doesn't matter if there's Coriolis or not. It's hard to shoot a rifle and hit the bullseye every time. You know what I mean? So I think there's a too much room margin for error there to make any kind of, you know.
Well, there's bullet
spin
drift, right? You've got rifling in your barrel. Let's just say whatever kind of gun you're using. You got spin drift. You've got what they call
that's gonna make
bullet wandering, where you know as you get further away, the bullet might just start spinning end over end. You know, just shit like that. It all depends. Yeah. You know,
if it stops, its rifle spin, it's gonna topple.
That's right. Yeah.
Maybe depending on the shape of the bullet,
but the globe Earth says that if you miss your target over 2 miles, it's because the Earth moved. Right. That's what they say.
Or you could just be a bad shot.
Yeah, link in the chat again for Roderick there.
Yeah. I noticed he dropped off a little bit. He might be
anyone that wants to join, if you got anything to say, more than welcome.
I'm actually taking a fluids dynamics course.
Oh, cool.
Sometime in the future. Let's see what I'm doing.
Cool. Yeah, what do you got? What do you got planned for? Just out of curiosity, what do you got planned for the coming years, Andrew?
Well,
Andrew's
I'm planning.
Andrew's a young guy with a future ahead of him, right?
Hopefully. I'm basically planning to get a degree in chemical engineering.
Cool.
What's your end goal? You know,
the degree to get a job that I enjoy and to make a lot of money.
So what do you enjoy? What do you enjoy? Like, I don't know much about chemical engineering, so like what part of it do you enjoy?
He's done some chemical or chemistry experiments.
Cool.
Like quite a few of them, actually, haven't you, Andrew?
Reactions, catalysts, all that stuff, right?
Yeah, basically, I have a whole bunch of books right next to me. Hold on, I'll grab them. See, like this one goes over molecules. I don't know if you can see that. I don't know. They're kind of far away. Anyways, I really enjoy doing chemistry and all the sorts. And I actually have a periodic table on my wall.
Nice.
So yeah, it's kind of wacky.
What are there on that periodic table? Are there let's call them weights listed below every element, or you know whatever they call them, numbers listed below
the atomic mass of it?
Okay, cool. What is that based off of? Where is 0, and how did they get, you know, helium, hydrogen, or the first ones to get atomic mass of 1?
So basically, it's let's see here. It's basically the atomic mass is those numbers are averages, of all the known isotopes.
Based upon what?
What do you mean based upon the numbers? The numbers
What?
averages based upon the atomic weight of the atomic particles inside of it. Say like a proton and neutron. Both of those have an atomic weight of 1. An electron has a very, 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 very small weight to it, and then that like kind of skews the number a little bit. That's why you get some crazy long decimal.
Have you ever
places.
seen a proton or a neutron? Or
No.
Kind of like a photon. It's more like an idea of a measurement than it is an actual measurement.
Oh, they definitely exist.
Yeah,
How do
but
you
it
know?
but like
How
we
do you
don't
know they exist? How do you know?
Because a lot of things would be really, really, really broken if they didn't.
It's a great model, and I trust the model. I don't deny it. But
Okay,
I
want to get this.
There's no visual. You've never seen a proton. No scientist. No what do you call them? You know, zoom microscope, electron microscope guy has ever seen a proton. Okay, it's just a name given to something that validates science, which I agree with. I agree with science.
It's an explanation of something we know exists, but we might not be able to see it, right? Something
Sure.
like that.
Sure.
Yes. Well, we know its properties, and we know
we
its
know,
mass. You know
Can
its
you-
and that's
effects.
part of your interest is reactions that these things have when put in certain situations.
Yeah.
right?
So basically, like I was explaining earlier, the noble gases is because they have electron configurations. So basically, the heavier the element is, the more protons are in it, and protons have a positive charge. So you can get atoms that are just positively charged, but they're very radical and they don't like to be that way. So they like damage things very easily. So like oxygen, for example, if you get it separated out of like it's just pure oxygen, singlet oxygen, it is very, very positively charged and will basically suck electrons out of anything it touches. Basically burns it instantly.
It's
So
called oxidation. Yeah.
yes. That happens with fluorine. Fluorine's probably a better example of that. It's one of the most reactive.
Have you ever weighed a proton? Ever?
Come on.
No.
No, I mean it's great. It's a great question because on
I
the
know, I'm
periodic
teasing.
table of elements, it displays weights of all these things, right? All
Yep.
these elements. And I just want to know if science or Andrew, if he's going through this course, you know, have you ever weighed a proton? How do we know what the weight is?
I have never personally weighed a proton. I have not.
I don't know if you could. I think it's more, you know, like I'm trying to think of an analogy or a comparison to, like, there's a lot of things, like, what was the one I brought up earlier? Oh yeah, right now I'm streaming with wireless internet, so I don't have a cable hooked up to the internet, or we do in our house or whatever. But I'm saying my computer, my laptop is speaking wirelessly. It has an visually invisible connection that is allowing us to communicate right now. So, so that being an example of, we know that the internet's working even though we can't see it, and so we have ways that we describe it, but it doesn't mean that they're necessarily physically real ways. Like,
I would disagree. I would disagree here. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Elaborate.
Only because there are different frequencies tested. You know, radio waves, as Andrew stated before, are electromagnetic waves, light waves. Okay.
Yep.
This has been tested, and there are certain frequencies that travel from tower to tower. And they know how far it can go before the inverse square law takes effect, and the antenna can't pick it up, and all. You know, there's
ground interference.
Sure, and thank God for these folks that are doing that. So, yes, you're right, John. When you come to me on my phone, I'm like, oh, that's right, it is invisible, right? But
crap,
but there's if they change the frequency, if the frequency changed just a little bit and my antenna on my phone didn't quite pick it up, we'd be gone. You know what I
Yeah, it
mean?
would be nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are very specific frequencies of communication that have been established, and thank God to these, um, um, you know, technological engineers, for growing on the idea of radio frequency. Yes.
Something like that.
But when I say, can you weigh a proton? I mean, come on.
Yeah. I one time I was talking to my brother about like the way that light behaves, and we got to talking about photons. And I said, "Well, what's a photon?" And we kind of got down to an honest answer. And what a photon is the it isn't a particle the way like that. I guess the way that our minds would want to simplify it as a photon is just the smallest amount of light that we can detect at a time.
Well, a photon is light.
Does light have mass?
It does not.
So you can't weigh a proton.
A photon doesn't have mass.
Oh yeah, photon.
Okay. So what's a proton? What's it made of?
Quarks and stuff.
Strings.
That's a quote. Quarks and stuff.
I know.
Quarks and stuff.
That was a good answer. Yeah, because I quarks and stuff.
It gets a little fuzzy.
Cool. And what does a proton do, per se?
Proton is a particle that has a positive charge.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much it.
What's its job? Like, what's its job? What does it do? I mean, it's super important, right?
It doesn't really have a job. It just kind of exists.
Exists within neutrons?
No, a neutron is a different particle.
But in the nuclei or whatever, the protons and nucleons, don't they exist together? The white and red dots?
Not necessarily, because hydrogen could literally just be a proton, a single proton.
It
by
could
itself.
be. Yeah. Okay. This is what's cool about the argument of the flat Earth. Is like when you break it all way right, Jim. Is when you break it all the way down, and Andrew. I love talking about this. Like I love Andrew to continue your study. You're going to be successful. Because there is a reason. But you're going to run into folks like us or me, who question you. And that's even better because, like Jim said, hey, when people question you, you dig deeper and you get more, you go further into your science, you go further into your knowledge, and it's a good thing. And we can have a civil discussion about these abstract things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Well, okay, so
my background, I should have a good background going. That guy, he says he's on his cell phone. He's talking to this other guy. He points at the ground and he says, "No, it's flat." And this guy points at the ground. And he says, "No, buddy, no, it's curved." And then we step back to get some perspective on the whole situation. There you go. I just had to share that.
Oh no, my dog was asleep and I pet her and she freaked out.
Oh. So I'm thinking about. Oh, go ahead. But
I want to get this across. Science doesn't prove things. The only proof really lies in mathematics. So like 1 + 1 = 2. That's a proof.
No, it's not.
Yes, yeah, it is.
What is 1 + 3?
1 plus 3 is 4.
Okay.
Is that a
one?
I don't
or is that just
What is 2 plus 0?
2.
Okay, so math doesn't. You said what? What did you say was 1 plus 1 equals 2, right?
Yeah.
So 2 plus 0 equals
2.
2?
So 1 plus 1 is not the only mathematical proof. It doesn't prove anything. It just gives a result.
It's more of a representation of something real.
Yeah.
You know?
It's pure logic. That's if you have one quantity and you have another quantity and you add them together, the sum of the two quantities, then you will have two quantities.
Can I get to that quantity in any other way?
I don't understand.
You have a glass full of water. You might have added water. I may have already had a glass of water. Like math is not the proof. It's just the end result of a language called math. That's all. And I don't
Math is
deny
logic. You can't. Some things are always true, like a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That is always true
Sure.
in two-dimensional was it Euclidean geometry.
Euclidean, yes.
It is always true.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what like value you put in there. There's no. Math isn't really. You have to apply meaning to numbers. So like the number, I'm not that good at explaining this. It's not like my expertise.
No, we're understanding what you're saying. I think like 1 apple plus 1 apple is 2 apples. We're representing the red apple as 1 apple.
But I could have had 4 halves of an apple to represent.
And in math you would have 4 over 2.
Yeah, you'd add it, and it would be it would make sense.
So math is just a road to get to a spot, you know. And talking about Euclidean geometry and Pythagorean's theorem, you know, that's plane geometry. And that holds consistent to what we see every freaking day. We build with you know, a squared, b squared, c squared. We build with that every single day. We don't take into any calculus, curvature, or anything on even huge jobs, airports, right?
Yeah, you do.
How do we do that?
Well, obviously the people don't run calculus equations in their head. That the computers do it.
What computers are you talking about?
On an airplane, they have computers.
No. When we build an airport, I'm talking. Not when an airplane's landing, you know.
Oh, I guess it'd be like applying. That's a good example of this. It's like applying
runways,
a light bulb in trying to build a plain wooden box, like like electrical engineering. You want to apply that to basically fluid dynamics in a way.
Who? Me? I don't. Who would apply that?
Imaginary person A.
Okay.
Who would it be? It would be subject number 1.
Yeah. But what are they trying to figure out with the light bulb in the box? What's their goal?
No, I was just saying your goal is to build a plain wooden box, nothing else, just a wooden box. You wouldn't need to use a whole bunch of equations to see like how radiation interacts with the box to know that you're building a wooden box.
Okay.
You're just saying, like, keeping it simple. You have like until you apply your experiment for the radiation, you're not really affected by it. Just building the box.
Sure.
I think I'm.
You're right on.
One thing that I saw was interesting in the chat. I put it up on the screen. It was Ryan Eartherton that said the sun's. Where was that? I think he said the sun's vicinity. Yeah, right here. the sun's vicinity excites the gases. This is what I'm understanding it to be. Because these noble gases that we're talking about, I know I'm kind of changing the subject a little bit, but
It's okay.
these noble gases that we all are aware of in the upper atmosphere, I believe that they're working, and I think the moon is the same way. It's getting charged up somehow from the sun. And of course, I'm just speculating, but it seems to me that when I I have drone footage. I'll try to find it. I do have some drone footage that I took it was on the 4th of July one year, because you can see fireworks going off everywhere. But it was when it was long after the sun had gone down, and I was able to just watch the light kind of moving away as the sun was going. I mean, it was dark already, but there was this. I'm going to try to find it while you continue to talk.
So basically, the northern lights are that. The sunset colors are not. That's how I'm going to put that.
I didn't even think of the northern lights in this yet. So
because that is ionized gas.
Okay.
It's not necessarily noble gases, because you need a really good concentration of noble gases at like the right, and you need a lot of voltage to pull that off, like a lot of potential.
How do you know that?
Just to excite, just charge the gases to light them up.
I mean, has there been an experiment locally, like in a small scale, to reproduce the auroras, or is there just an explanation for it? Right?
CGI, NASA does it with CGI. No, I'm just kidding.
Has there been a local, small scale, reproduction of the auroras? The way that lights, or is it a phenomenon that is unexplainable, but yet we have an explanation for it, called distant sun, Earth, atmosphere, pole, all this stuff?
Found the video, you guys. I seriously found the video. Let me. It's just a cool video to watch. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get rid of myself here and get out of the picture. Check this. Do you guys see that? And
no, I could not see it. Yeah, but I love the music, so I was just chilling.
Yeah, the music was kind of cool, huh? So phase one, you can't see it, huh?
No, all I can see is your icon there with the Pinocchio nose with the globe there.
Oh, really? I don't even see that one, so that's kind of weird.
Hey, but no worries. Don't fuck shit up. Everything's okay.
Right? Let's see here. Let me
try. I use bad language. Sorry.
No, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. Or is it? No, I'm just kidding. No, like I said, we all live in a real world, and we're not living under a rock. So it's not like a problem that like I'm gonna hold against somebody or something. It's just something I steer away from is all. So
sure. And you could also say that might be your come from. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my just whatever you call it, my I don't know what you'd call it.
just who you are, right?
Yeah.
So, but if you do have a live show or something and somebody spits out a word, you can't hold it against them because, you know, maybe like we talked about, you know, maybe it's just a slip of the tongue. I try not to swear, you know, because I do believe it's wrong, especially in front of my nephews and, you know, all that stuff. So, but at the same time, sometimes it's like, don't fuck it up. Oops, sorry. You know.
It happens. And honestly, like that, like I'm saying, I'll just give like my quick opinion about the way that these stereotypes of maybe what a religious person would be. You know, they wouldn't swear. They wouldn't have these slang words and things like that, but they do. The fact is that we all do. And what you just said is probably the stance that we all take. We all try to watch our mouths and be appropriate, and sometimes we're not the best at it. That's probably about that, like the best way I could put it.
Absolutely, just do your best, you know.
Hello,
Especially when
Marcus and Iger Television. Good to see you guys.
hey,
Sorry, go ahead.
New folks, or
Yeah, just in the chat, I've seen some people there. Michael J. Spencer, Kelly Lowry, Ryan Eartherton, Flat Earth Frank the Tank.
I've heard of Ryan Eartherton. He's Nathan Oakley chat, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen Ryan Eartherton around a lot too.
Yeah.
And Iger Television, it's been a while. Good to see you. Sometimes it just sounds good, especially for me growing
You post your link and let them join if they want. Or
Yeah, you know what? I'll do that right now. I'll put the link. If anyone that wants to join in, I think it's just as simple as clicking the link and then maybe putting your name in or something like that.
I had to copy the link you sent and go to Safari. I don't know what the fuck Safari is, but right when I put it in, it just asked me for my username and open the link. Boom.
Okay. Sounds similar to what Andrew had to do something with Chrome or whatever, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to the bathroom quick. I'll be right back.
All right.
Okay.
No worries.
Yeah, so I just like this video. I wish you could see it, Face One.
Yeah, me too, but hey, you know, it's all right. I could hear it.
Yeah. You know what? I think I can do you a favor, possibly. Yeah. I can put a link to the YouTube video. And then if you click the link, I think all you'll have to do is turn your volume off, and you should be able to see.
Or just send me the link in the chat. In the chat.
I just put it in the chat right now. Let's see here. But I've actually got the wrong screen up. Sorry.
Do it private chat, not live chat.
Okay. Yep. Let's see here. How do I get to the private chat? Oh, there we are.
Okay, I'm back.
He's back. Okay, here it is in the private chat.
Dang. Super P.
Yeah, that's
my bathroom's like immediately outside my door. So
okay.
Nice.
I got it. I'm gonna watch it right now.
Heidi ho! That's awesome. Can you see that those noble gases being lit up by the sun yet? Face One? I'm just kidding.
Doesn't that look like a little bit like a rainbow right there?
Yeah, it sure does, doesn't it?
And what happens when you scatter light?
You get like a prism.
Yeah, so you get a rainbow. So that's what's happening.
Well, wait.
That's That's
The
not
only reason the only reason we think that when the light scatters we get a rainbow is because we saw that little picture in our school book of Newton holding up that prism and with a light coming in and a rainbow shooting out, and they're like, yeah, that's
For me, it was
refraction.
Pink Floyd, but okay.
Yeah, or Pink Floyd, exactly.
No, you can do that yourself. That's not a. I never saw the picture of Newton holding the prism in my textbook.
But Andrew, what about the colors that are actually on the screen there? They're not rainbow colors.
Yeah, they are.
It
Unless
appears
I'm
to
looking
be-
at something else.
No, it appears to be rainbowish colors, but if you look at the actual, like those noble gases, when you light those up, like that you have in those vials,
Hmm.
those are the colors that we're seeing.
Okay.
The rainbow colors are a lot different, in my opinion.
Yeah, rainbow
Couldn't-
bright. Yes.
There would have to be a massive, and I'm talking about a really freaking large electrical source, like to the
Yeah.
point where it's just ridiculous.
To the
Uh-huh.
point where it gets so hot that it heats the whole world.
That's right.
No, it doesn't have to do with heat. I'm just talking about like you would have
light
electrical
is heat.
storms basically. You would
Light is heat. Yes.
no.
Yes, it is.
Well,
Well,
the sun,
okay, hold on.
the
hold
sun
on.
creates heat.
You're right. You're right. Light is not heat. Radiation is heat.
Now I got a question for
Radiation
DeBate.
is no, it's not always light, but heat comes from when light interacts with certain things like infrared.
How does light interact? Does light
So
have a substance? Is light a
it's energy.
tangible or
It's energy.
okay? So how can light interact with something if it's not tangible or just
Doesn't it just light it up?
Well,
Like-
you can obviously feel the heat coming off of. Like if you have a very powerful lamp, you can feel the heat coming off of the light.
Hold
like
on,
if you have,
hold on. You went from a powerful lamp to the sun. We're talking about the sun.
Okay, I'll go back. Okay, so infrared light, it's a particle and a wave at the same time. It kind of creates its own medium to travel through.
Duality.
It has energy, so therefore it can transfer momentum, even though it doesn't have mass, equals mc squared. And once it interacts with something, it will hit it.
How does it
It'll
interact?
either be absorbed, reflected, or both.
How does it interact?
Like if you have a matte black surface and you have a glossy white surface, they're going to interact with light differently.
Yes.
Okay. Light causes that interaction between the black mat and the white surface? Light
The
causes
surface-
that? The
surface
metal
does.
or the mat? Light causes the metal or the mat to react different? Even though that light is non-physical? It's both a particle and a wave, and
I think it's more that we see.
Oh, it interacts. It will definitely heat up something.
how does it
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah, that's a good question. How does it do that?
The particle of energy comes in, physically hits the atom. It'll either be totally absorbed, resulting in an electron jumping up energy level. So that's when you see ionized gas.
It's adding electrons, or
It's not adding electrons, it's adding energy.
what causes what's the energy? What's it adding? What's the energy?
The light is energy.
Okay, but what does it do to the atom? Is it adding protons, neutrons, electrons?
No, it's just
orbits?
giving it more energy.
Just what, vibration or?
Some of it.
Okay.
So it comes in, hits it, physically transfers energy to it. Some of it is
Physically?
absorbed. Yes, physically. Like
It
it
has
touches it. The energy
has-
touches it.
Because it'll heat it up, so something's happening there, you know. Here's another aspect of light, though, is that, like, and I'm gonna get biblical on you guys now.
Okay.
In the Bible, that's just an interesting thing that there was 6 days of creation, and it was the first day that God created light. He said, "Let there be light," and there was light, and he saw that it was good. And so he divided the darkness from the light, and he called the light day and the darkness night. Now, I think this really, I know that people don't think of the Bible as the science book, but I'm learning that, like, a lot of the things that Andrew is knowledge in and is learning, like with chemistry and things like that, most of these things are already they're like already explained in the Bible, but it's in a way that I think our society that we live in 2020 is not quite ready to understand it that way. So I'm not saying that, like, I guess the word science is kind of a sticky word, because if I call the Bible the science book, then that would mean something different than the scientific community. Okay, the scientific community is just people's ideas of things, but we can do a scientific experiment and learn something from it. We can observe something and learn something from it, and that's what I would consider science, is learning about the world or learning about something simply by making observations and doing experiments and comparing different experiments to each other and results and things. But I think that in the Bible, that this idea of light and darkness that was created, this was all created before the sun was even created. It wasn't till the 4th day that God created the sun. So it was the 2nd day he made the firmament, and then the 3rd day he made plants and herb yielding seed and like all these things. How did that all happen without the sun? That it's just an interesting question, because the sun wasn't there for that. Like, then he made the sun, moon, and the stars on the 4th day after there was already plants that were alive,
and light and darkness were already created.
Yeah. So, and there's several places in the Bible when it's talking about the sun, and it specifically says the light and the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So it's saying it, like in the Bible, I totally get the idea that there are 2 kinds of light. I'm not saying I understand them, but I'm saying that there's just light, and then there's also the sun, which obviously is a light,
Yep.
So it's just interesting.
It's 100% interesting. Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah.
What were we discussing again?
We were talking about the photons heating up metal. A dark panel.
A reaction of some kind.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Light will interact with the atom, giving it energy, and that will either be in the form of heat, or electron will jump up an energy level, and when it jumps down an energy level, it releases another photon. So it'll release it back probably at a lower energy. So that's why you get noble gases to glow, is if you run electricity through it, you're adding electrons, which then adds the electrons then get excited, they jump up, and as they jump back down, they emit light.
And that's how we have fluorescent light bulbs.
Yes. Well,
yeah.
Sort of.
It's almost the exact same thing, really.
What happens when I have those the 2 panels that Joe Hill was talking about? The black panel and the white panel, and one of them reacts differently to sunlight. It gets hotter versus the white panel. That's okay. Now, what happens when there is no sunlight? Let's say the sun passes over and those 2 panels are still sitting there. How come they go back to the exact same temperature, right?
because they radiate off their heat.
And where does that heat go? Or
into the
Entropy.
air.
It just wants to
and
disperse
and
evenly
and,
throughout
and what
everything.
is that heat? Is that heat atoms or electrons or?
That heat is the atoms physically moving and hitting each other. It's called kinetic
like
energy.
friction. It's
Okay,
friction.
and they dissipate into the air, or?
Yeah, it's just like a whole bunch of atoms wiggling, and then they want to all wiggle evenly because entropy.
So the metal itself is actually deteriorating because those atoms are leaving the metal.
They're
Saying,
not
I want to
leaving.
be cool. I want to cool down.
They're,
or-
cha-
The
they're
atoms
changing
are not
orientation.
leaving.
They're
They're not
changing.
doing that either. Okay, so I need see what I got. I don't really got anything. Okay, so you see my screen?
No, I can't, but I can hear you. That's okay.
Okay, so you got a ball. So imagine a ball as an atom.
Mhm.
Now, as long as it's not at absolute zero, which nothing can ever be, it's constantly like vibrating and wiggling.
Mm.
And then if there's an atom next to it, let's say vibrating a little bit more, because that manifests in the form of heat. That's what heat is. If you touch something, the atoms are they're moving different speeds.
It's
So
not
that's
flame or
no, it's flame is a chemical reaction heating
So
giving energy off.
you said that sunlight is you said heat that is atoms moving. So
Mhm.
when sun hits me, it's my skin atoms are just moving around a lot.
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to
Because
point out that to me this seems completely theoretical as far as I'm only just being honest. I'm not saying
honest. Let's
not
be honest.
true.
Yeah, we're getting deep into theoretical.
Well,
no,
and
this is not
textbook.
this is not theoretical stuff. So
Yes,
this is how a rubber band works. For example,
No.
it works around this. Okay. Gonna go into a little bit of polymer stuff. So
Okay.
polymers are a whole bunch of chains of molecules,
Mhm.
right?
No, we don't know
because
that, but we've been
they're
told
just
that.
no,
rubbers.
they are chains of molecules. They are that structure. We can know the structure of them.
Okay. And you can recreate them, right?
Yeah, that's what chemical engineering does.
Cool.
You predict and build new polymers and stuff.
Yep.
So you got a whole bunch of these chains. So imagine them like strings of atoms. They're all bonded together. And the easiest way to demonstrate this is imagine you actually holding a physical chain and then adding some kinetic energy by vibrating it or shaking it. Now that chain, instead of being fully extended, will shorten because it's the kinetic energy is like vibrating. Now in a rubber band, that's what's happening. They're at like their comfortable state, so they're relaxed. If you pull on that adding force, you physically tighten the polymer strands so that they become stiff. Now they want to go back to the original place by the kinetic energy. So when you release it, they're always trying to go back to the relaxed chain state. That's basically how a rubber band works.
That's any material.
Why would a polymer in any sense just be in a relaxed state? Shouldn't it always be trying to
It's not relaxed.
polymerize?
I don't know what that means.
Okay. What is
It's a
the
new
relaxed
word.
state of a polymer?
It depends on what type of polymer. I mean, the relaxed state is just it being itself with the lowest amount of energy
It
possible.
being itself. Okay. Now, where are these polymers found? Like, how do we know to make a rubber band? Where are these polymers found?
You have to make
Trees.
There you
yeah,
go.
you can get polymers and trees and stuff
From
first.
nature. Yeah,
Yep.
right. Pretty much nature. Right. Nature
You
already
can
created that
synthetically make them.
polymer. Sure.
Yeah, but you
can
need nature to make anything synthetic.
That's right, because you have to know first what to make later. That's right.
Not necessarily.
Okay, tell me any synthetic. What
put you on the spot.
synthetic thing has man made that nature has not already created?
That's a good question.
Plastic.
Well, that's already in nature.
No, yeah.
No, it's not.
So what is plastic made out of then?
PET is not found in nature.
What is plastic made out of though?
Polymer.
And what is polymer made out of?
Atoms.
And where do atoms come from? It's part of nature, right?
Well, if you go like that train of thinking, everything is nature then.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
that's exactly what I'm thinking.
That's
That's the
exactly
point
right.
I'm making. I'm not trying to say you're wrong. The point I'm making is that all of the knowledge that we can have about these things, and one thing that always comes to mind is, it's a good analogy. And actually, I think it was you, Andrew, that mentioned this about, okay, we know what clouds are, right? And we
Yep.
know how clouds can turn into rain and then get heavy and enough to fall, right?
Yep.
And so, like, the science of that is what it is. Okay, like we understand what's happening to the gassy water molecules, and they collect with each other until they're a drop.
Condense,
Yeah, condense till they're a drop, and then they have enough mass to fall, right?
Yeah.
That was mass in quotations there, by the way.
Good.
So but so we understand that, and I don't think we're trying to have a argument about that, but I would say what I feel is important to at least get from that type of debate question is, what is the clouds though? What we understand that we get water out of the clouds and everything, but what I'm saying is, do we really know what is happening there, or is it just that we are able to observe the things that we can observe, and that's our idea of what we're observing because it makes sense? What I'm saying is, I believe that there's a spiritual side to all of these things, that when we're talking about tables of elements and things, and I believe that just like the sun and moon govern the day and the night in a very real way, I think that angels, they govern the storehouses of rain, and I think that it's much more spiritual than just a table of elements. Do you know what I'm saying? And I know that probably sounds like wishy-washy a little bit, but I'm not trying to. Hey Dank, good to see you. Hey, that's a good point, Roderick. I like that. Roderick says, great point. All we are able to build can cause many to reject the chief cornerstone. We are using his stuff and claiming we are God's. I can see that, and it's not like we're trying to. I just see that. I see that that's like natural for us in this world to feel like we have a lot of knowledge about these things. And even if we do, you know what I'm saying? Here, let me give you another example. And this is a good example. Okay, what are the flat earthers or the biblical cosmologists, what do they believe about the sky? What do they believe that the sky is made of? Water. And simply because one of the biggest reasons is because it's in the Bible, that same second verse that I keep bringing up is, there was darkness upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the water. So right away in that second verse, it's talking about God is above some waters that are above where we live. And if in Psalm 18, it says that those are dark waters and thick clouds of the skies. So my example or my analogy or whatever is, it's going to go to NASA JPL. They are learning exactly what Genesis 1 verse 2 says. And they might not realize it the way that Genesis 1 verse 2 states it, but that darkness that they're going into, or that they're exploring or whatever, that is the reason why it's waters above, is because it is a different realm. It's a celestial realm, like a spiritual angelic realm.
And you can't go there. That's right.
And that's exactly true. And nothing physical from this world can manifest there. So when we look up and we see all these satellites and we see the space station, I think what we're seeing is men being
attempting to
attempting to be gods, and just like Lucifer, trying to ascend into heaven. But I think that it's the dark waters. They're just calling it dark matter. They just have a different term for the same thing. Like they're like, it's invisible, but we know that they're there because when we look through them, we can see the effects of looking through them.
But we can't actually see them. We might see lights.
We can just see the lights up in the sky that we call stars and planets. And when we look at them, we can see that they're like shimmering.
And those lights in the sky goes straight back to your first biblical verse. Everything is God created light.
Right? Yes. Yep.
And these guys, somebody, I don't know, and I wouldn't put it against, or I wouldn't put it past men to try to create these things to get lights in the sky, right? To make certain folks believe that, hey, we own this area out here, right? We've been there. We've
explored it.
Yeah, we've explored it.
That's something that I don't think people realize too is in Revelation, there's the angel of the bottomless pit, and his name is Abaddon in the, or I can't remember exactly which was Greek or Hebrew, but it was Apollyon.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking like Apollo.
Mm-hmm.
And like the whole idea of, Apollo was the god of archery. Mm-hmm. And what are rockets? Like, I just see like it's just like a big bow and arrow. I mean, like, even in that same Tower of Babel story in the book of Jasher, chapter 9, what did the people do when they got to the top of the tower? They took spears and arrows and shot them up towards heaven to try to kill God. They wanted to place their own idols up there and worship and serve them. And so what did God do? He sent them strong delusion, and he dropped their arrows back down covered in blood to cause them to err. Now, whether or not this is a literal true story and how it all happened or whatever, there is a very important point, I think, at least to at least consider, and that is that we don't belong up in the heavens.
And you can't, yes.
That's what Jesus said. He said, Jesus said, no man hath ascended up to heaven, but he that came down from heaven.
That's right.
And so when they go up in a rocket, where are they going? Because they're not going to heaven. They're going into a terrible place, you guys. They're going into darkness. Darkness. Literal darkness.
And that darkness always translates to us on a TV screen. Like, boom. Whoa, they passed through the Kármán line. Oh, now these guys are in space. Yeah, but we lost sight of the rocket. Can't figure that out. But now here's the screen, right? Here's the screen. Watch this.
Yeah. That's actually kind of the point. We don't live up in space. Okay, so if it takes the resources of the whole world to have 3 astronauts living in low Earth orbit, is that really an accomplishment?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I know, Andrew has. He's right now. He's biting his lip. He's like, "Oh, you guys!" Right?
No, I know. He's so.
I just. We do understand where you're coming from, Andrew, for sure. So it's not like we're trying to like gang up on you or something. But I do see it to be dangerous to be trying to do things up in that darkness. Oh, I like what Flat Earth Frank the Tank says. They go in the ocean. They go in the ocean above Flat Earth Frank.
I'm an excavator, so I dig down in the ground.
Cool. You're an operator? Do you operate a machine or what?
Yeah, I have my own machine, and so.
Cool. That's awesome.
I've been doing it my whole life. I learned from the best. Yelled and screamed at me. When I started on the ground. Watching them operate. Anyways, I need guys like Andrew, though. To excel and to become the best that they can
Efficient.
be.
Yeah.
Yes, at their field, because all science relates back down to earth. Right?
Yes. Yeah. I
So,
agree.
so I would never discount Andrew's ambition to say,
No.
yeah,
No.
I'm going to go.
That's why. That's actually what I like about DeBoreum's channel. Is he? I think Andrew is an honest guy. Just because I've known you for quite a while, Andrew, and it's like
Yeah.
you seem to be honest and genuine, just like your dad. I mean that's what I see. Kind of the same thing. Mark is always that's your dad, Mark, right?
Yeah.
Or Matt, Mark, right? Yeah, Mark was always like had a really big heart. I remember that from back in wrestling. I can kind of see the same thing with you. So, but yeah, like Face is saying, the the stuff you're learning, Andrew, is definitely useful stuff for everything we do in this world.
100%.
But I think we have to be careful, though, is all I'm saying. We have to be careful with what there should be a limit to some of our, what we want to be doing. Do you know what I'm saying? If maybe I'm not making sense. Basically, we shouldn't be ascending into heaven or trying to. Okay, we got a question, and I like this. It's a good question. Flat Earth Frank the Tank says, Joe, do they get through the firmament, or are they still under it? We're gonna go to the Bible really quick, and I'll just share with you why I think, they could be under it and through it, but I do think that they're definitely through it, or that they will be at the end.
I think it's all a production. I don't think there's anybody's ever been to the firmament or.
And yeah, that could be.
But it would be so easy to reproduce here on Earth, especially with the waters above, waters below. Why not just go into a water tank called the NASA? Under aeronaut or.
What do they call it? The buoyancy lab or something.
Yeah, aeronautics, nautical meaning water. Yeah, aeronautics water lab.
What do they call that, Andrew? The something buoyancy lab, right?
I'm not entirely sure.
Okay, where they have a full scale ISS under the water.
A full space scale, not just ISS. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where they practice all their spacewalks before they go up there. So, it's called the something buoyancy lab.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called, but so in Ezekiel, I'm just going to share a couple verses really quick. There's a couple of things that are said that are quite interesting. First, let me preface it by saying, do we know where God's throne is? According to the Bible, it's above the earth, right? In heaven. That's where he sits above the circle of the earth, and looks down on us like grasshoppers in a tent to dwell in. Like he's above us, like in a literal sense, up and down wise. And that's, I believe, where his sanctuary is the heavens. And he says in Ezekiel 5, verse 11, it says, "Wherefore, as I live, saith the Lord God, surely because thou hast defiled my sanctuary with all thy detestable things, with all thine abominations, therefore will I also diminish thee, neither shall mine eyes spare, neither will I have any pity." And then in chapter 7, the Lord's, he keeps saying, "An end is come upon the four corners of the land. Now is the end come upon thee, and I will send my anger upon thee, and judge thee according to thy ways, and will recompense upon thee all thine abominations." And then verse 20, this is where it gets kind of interesting, and I'm reading this verse in response to Frank, sorry, I keep saying that, Flat Earth Frank the Tank's question. Do they get through the firmament, or are they still under it? So it says, As for the beauty of his ornament, he set it in majesty, but they made the images of their abomination and of their detestable things therein. Therefore have I set it far from them, and I will give it into the hands of the strangers for a prey, and to the wicked of the earth for a spoil, and they shall pollute it. My face will I also turn from them, and they shall pollute my secret place, for the robbers shall enter into it and defile it. And then in Psalm 18, it says that God made darkness his secret place.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
Can I ask you? And this might be a Andrew point of view. What version of the word are you reading?
That was the King James version.
Whose version?
King James version, the
Okay.
KJV.
Who is King James?
It, what was it? 16. I have a 1611 version too.
Cool.
It's just a translation.
Is King James a man, right?
Yeah, King James is a man.
Okay. So this will tie in right to the globe earth argument that, you know, if you read a version of a man's story, we're doing nothing different than arguing against their science story, right?
Yeah, that's why it's a matter of faith.
Yeah.
That's why it's actually a belief that I have. And
Absolutely. Okay.
so I'm totally willing to say, yeah, it's a belief. And Andrew knows that I believe. I mean, a lot of the stuff I say, I know Andrew's just like keeping quiet because he's like, it ain't worth saying nothing. But I know that Andrew, you're well aware that it's a belief that I have.
What I brought up to you there is not an argument. It's just like it's a realization. Yeah. It's a version of God's word, right?
It's and I believe that that God's word is always going to be the same, even if men translate it.
Have you read different Bibles? Have you read different texts?
Definitely. And I kind of like any of the verses that I'm reading. I'm usually go to Bible Hub and I'm looking at the Greek and Hebrew of
translations.
Yeah, because there are, like, even in this Bible that I'm reading right now, the King James, I found kind of a huge translation error in Revelation. In Revelation chapter 12 and 13, there's at the beginning of chapter 13, it starts out with a phrase that should be in chapter 12.
Mm-hmm.
And that I found that out by looking at the Greek. It says, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea. Mm-hmm. What it should actually say is, I saw a beast rise up out of the sea. That's how it should start, because if you look at the Greek, verse 17 in chapter 12, it says, and the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. And he stood upon the sand of the sea. So that was talking about the dragon. Mm-hmm. But in the King James version, they mistranslated it and put it into the first sentence of chapter 13 and said that
rose up.
Little things like that. But I think that as far as I think that because we have Bible Hub and Bible Gateway and all these resources now, that it's really hard for us to not be able to find these translation errors.
I'm gonna have to be the critic again, like I was being critical of Andrew. Right?
Hey, that's great. That's how we learn, right?
You said we have all these resources now, right? You know,
yes.
To double check yourself on
the translation or whatever.
Who controls that double check, right? Like, how do you?
Well,
know?
I think it's I know exactly what you're saying. Like, is that
it gets spicy? It gets a little bit spicy.
Oh, for sure. I think like Bible Hub, for instance, you're saying like someone owns that and someone puts that content on those pages.
That's right.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. But I also agree that, I also would point out that the amount of people like me and you and whoever that is interested in getting the word of God, I think it's a lot of these resources are like very closely studied. Do you know what I mean?
Criticized for sure.
Criticized, that's a better word. Yes,
Yeah.
criticized. And I think that, like, I'm just trying to think of an example, like I always am. If I just came out on my YouTube channel and said something just, crazy off the wall, like Earth is flat. No, I'm just kidding. Something like, something like smoking cigarettes improves the health of your lungs or something like that.
Yes. Yeah.
It wouldn't be taken as valid information by anybody that is part of our society. That
What if you said that smoking cigarettes doesn't cause cancer, lung cancer, right?
that would be less controversial.
Wow,
But
but you'd have a huge whoa, right?
it would be a big war. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, what I'm saying is that if I go and I make a statement that's blatantly false, there's going to be very few people that are willing to take that seriously because it's so easy to.
And the same with Bible verses, right?
Yes. So what I'm saying is, when there's hundreds and hundreds of people or thousands of people that are using these resources that we do have, I think it's very hard for the resources to not be accurate because there's so much input.
Yeah. Joe, have you ever traveled to France or Europe? Let's just say Europe.
Nope.
Continental. Okay.
Nope. I've only been in the US.
Do you know the Bible they read at all, or?
I guess
that's Europe is the huge. Let's just say. What do you call it? Just where religion came from, let's say.
Oh, okay.
So have you ever read a Spanish Bible translated into English?
No, I haven't.
How about a German Bible?
Nope.
Translated. Okay. How about a Polish Bible?
Nope. Just the
right.
Just
so there's so many different written texts there,
Well, I think it would be more like a canon of compiled books generally. That would be like if you're in a different country, or like I know the Ethiopian text or Bible still has the Book of Enoch in it, things like that.
Yeah.
So
there's definitely a different version of a Bible. Right.
Or a collection, let's say, a collection of books, because we have actual manuscripts. Well, I talk like I'm part of it. We.
I know. It's okay.
My buddy says, "What's all this we stuff? You got a turd in your pocket or what?"
No. I get you. It's okay.
But there are manuscripts of like physical scrolls and physical things that where these writings come from. And so that
where did you get those in your King James version?
I don't have those I just have the King James version. Yeah. And so like I'm saying, one aspect is that yes, it's a belief. I believe that
do we think that King James might have interpreted those scrolls to
maybe
to his benefit, possibly?
I think that that's a possibility with anybody, any human being that does, like that copies, the Bible into another language or something like that. There's always the chance and the likely chance that their understanding is going to get in there somehow a little bit.
Yeah.
Or
especially with the powerfulness, the powerfulness of the Word of God. If you can script it a little bit and then call it the King James version of the Word of God. There might go ahead.
Oh, no, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
I was just saying there might be a whatever you call that. Look, man, if I was King James and I had the Word of God in front of me and I could rewrite it, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
You know,
I guess,
to gain the power of the people. You know, just to
and I
gain their
understand that.
acceptance. Yeah.
I understand that, but I guess what I would say is that the like we really study these things deep. Like as far as like even
Yeah, but you can't go that far back. You can only
we
go
can
far as back as King James. That's it.
well, no. There's so many different like texts that are, I mean, just an example is the Book of Enoch. That's just an example of
When
like our
did you first
Charles,
hear when did you first hear the Book of Enoch in your whole life of biblical studies, all that stuff?
probably, I don't know. I mean, I probably heard of it a long time ago, but I didn't read it till about 5 years ago.
Okay, yeah, that's same with me. Right, it came up. This Book of Enoch popped up 5 years ago. Where did
Yeah,
it come from?
you know what? That's the first page of the Book of Enoch, the first chapter. Let me read something.
Which is about the time of flat Earth too, right? It popped up about 5 years ago.
Well, it's been around though for a long time.
So is flat Earth, yeah.
But oh yeah, that's true. Let me see here. Where's in the first chapter here? Look what it says here.
Yeah. Hey guys.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
gonna actually head out. So.
All right. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Andrew. We're totally.
It's all good.
No, you're good.
Sorry.
I just have to get up early tomorrow. So.
Okay.
Oh,
hey,
you got
good
one of those
conversation,
jobs
Andrew.
or something, don't you? I'm just kidding.
Sorry for any, if I was abrupt or disrespectful at all. I don't mean that. I love talking to fellows like you.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it greatly. We should do this like again sometime.
Oh, for sure. And yeah, this was kind of like a test for me to make sure that all this is working. But yeah, we can do a debate anytime. I'm willing and get
No
other people
debates.
too. So
No debates. We don't need to debate, right?
or I guess that's just the formal word that conversation. Okay. How about that?
Okay. Very good. Very good.
Thank you, Andrew, for hanging out for sure. And I'll put a link to Deborium's channel and Face One if you want. I can do the same once this broadcast is over. I'll put it in the description or something.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, if you know anyone too that wants to talk to me, they can. So
awesome. Well, thank you, Deborium, and once again, it was a pleasure to talk with you and get your input on things.
Same as well. Well, take care.
Take care. Have
Yes,
a good
sir.
one.
Yes, sir, Andrew. Good night. Thank you. Nice to meet you.